Okay, hello, my name is Eileen Murphy, and I am the founder and CEO of ThinkCERCA. We teach critical thinking through argumentative writing. And you might wonder why on earth we'd want to teach people how to argue. And the answer to that is, it's really been the core service of schools from long before Aristotle's time. Being an educated person means being able to consume information, regardless of the media it comes in, think critically about it, and then express one's point of view effectively. It's the things that you and I hire people to do at our companies. And, you know, it's the thing that while technology has democratized access to information and even the ability to speak on a global stage rapidly to the point where we've been able to topple governments with tweets. What we haven't really democratized is the actual instruction in these skills that helps people cross the moat to power. That is the piece of instruction that is probably the most important pain point for superintendents and principals today in the US and in organizations, education organizations across the globe. Because obviously in a marketplace that is being disrupted by machines, these are the only skills that will matter. For any job that is not a low-skill job, you will need critical literacy skills. And so in the US, obviously policymakers decided to make this the set of standards that we should use to educate our workforce and tied really high-stakes assessments to them. And essentially, about 5 years ago, superintendents and principals began looking for resources to teach these skills, which, by the way, their workforce of 3.8 million teachers had not actually received a lot of formal instruction in themselves. These are things that are now being tested on ACTs, SATs, and every state assessment throughout the country. If you have kids, they're analyzing 2 pieces of text and writing an essay about it in 3rd grade. So you can imagine, for teachers like these, this picture is actually very representative of the teachers that I worked with. After teaching English myself for 15 years in 2 of the top performing high schools in the country, and 2 of the top performing high schools, obviously, in the state of Illinois, I became director of curriculum and instruction for 115 schools in Chicago. And this is what every classroom pretty much looked like. Very diverse learners, teachers who, again, were not necessarily equipped with the skills and knowledge they needed to teach what the students were going to be held accountable to. And wouldn't be so bad, maybe, if they only had 1 level of learner in their 6th grade class, except in Chicago you have 10. And you likely have 3 new arrivals from 3 different countries showing up in February, and you're responsible for their achievement. So this is the problem that I set out to solve. And unfortunately, even though we've tried it for 40 years, can't be solved in a cubicle with multiple choice questions, nor can it be solved with cool apps that teachers adopt on their own, but then do not add up to a coherent instructional system. At least from my vantage point as a district administrator, that's what I found, because the teachers who were picking up the cool apps and using them well were a very small fraction. They were not school systems. And that's who I was buying for. I was buying for systems. So I set out to solve this problem of critical literacy instruction for the 33 million students in grades 4 through 12 who really need these skills and are held accountable for them. And eventually, I think, based on early interest from adult basic education and workforce programs, also the 30 million unemployable adults who still didn't get that. So it starts with a simple framework where we teach schools to focus on just this one thing. Enable students to make a claim, support it with evidence, explain their reasoning clearly, address a counterargument, and use audience-appropriate language. If you can make an argument about math, you know it, and if you can express your point of view effectively, you'll do fine in college and in your workplace. If you can't, you're going to be in trouble. And this is how we learn that. We don't learn it in cubicles. We learn it in classrooms with other human beings, including a teacher. And in fact, that is why we actually come to school versus going to other places. So we essentially provide the lessons in English, science, social studies, and math. Principals and superintendents buy it to be guaranteed aligned curriculum that's of high interest to students, but also that provides leveled access for all diverse learners in every classroom. We give students questions like, how should we farm in a world with climate change? They engage at their level of readiness, and then later with their entire learning community to explore these questions, discussing, debating, and eventually writing an argument. So as they're working separately, they have a lot of scaffolding in terms of help with audio support and in-text vocabulary, highlighting and annotating. They can work collaboratively with their team to build arguments with our interactive argument builder, which provides sentence stems, which is extremely valuable for English language learners, and that might explain why 37% of our free users are actually in Asia. They also then have the time that their teacher redeploys from the front of the class to side by side and shoulder to shoulder. And that teacher, while giving feedback, is also collecting data that a whole school can use for apples to apples comparisons of how students are doing in reading and writing across the board. So that means the whole school can focus on these critical skills, and anything that can be done by the computer is, anything that can't, teachers are now free to do. So it works to help organizations really focus on personalizing learning in every classroom and improving instruction to the point where in all of the controlled studies that have been done on recent innovations in literacy, we've been the top performer, where we've provided an average of 2 years of growth and 4 times more growth than the next best product. So I want to wrap up really quickly by talking about the business itself. You can see some of these studies on our website, but we essentially are solving a big problem for districts, which is why we have over 100,000 subscribing students across 38 states. We obviously have great reference customers in those 38 states and a really clear economic reward for achieving district adoptions. You can see this presentation online, and I'm happy to talk more about it. But the reason why we have had investment from really great people, including the Gates Foundation and Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit, is because of our impact, which is what schools want to buy. We've grown significantly over the past couple of years since our launch, and we are closing a Series B to achieve scale with district sales. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.